يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله قولا سديدا. O you who believe, fear Allah and make your utterances straightforward, that He may make your conduct whole and sound and forgive you your sins. He that obeys Allah and His Messenger has already attained the great victory. We did a review of this ayat and other ayats similar to this a few months back. But basically, both of these translations have a nice way that they put, it says, "O you who have attained to faith, remain conscious of Allah and always speak with a will to bring out only what is just and true." Of course, in this case, now it says, speak a word, so that you bring only out those things that are just and true. Whereupon He will cause your deeds to be virtuous and will forgive you your sins. And know that whoever pays heed unto Allah and His apostle has already attained a mighty triumph. So, and look at these ayats, basically, and this ayat is, O you who have attained the faith, not mainly O you who believe, but O you who believe is what it, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, basically places you amongst the believers. But in reading the different commentaries, I like the way Muhammad al-Assad puts certain things. And it begins right away in the Quran, although he's using the word God here, and the new Yusuf Ali. I said the new Yusuf Ali is using Allah because the Saudis took this over and reprinted it. The earlier years ago, 50 years ago and more, that back in that era, and Yusuf Ali used the term God also. And so as we went on, and we come to reading, it was only a few tafasir in English. It was, you would have to get most of your explanations from these footnotes, because it didn't, Maududi had tafsir, but he only had the first few volumes of his translation, back in the 70s. They didn't finish translating like the 15th and 16th volume, which they collected in a volume of 6, the Maulana Maududi, which in those days I thought was the best commentary for us. And it was, because it's full of fiqh, it's full of all kind of stuff. So I read the tafsir. I just read only the Maulana Maududi tafsir. And so during that Ramadan, it was about 3 hours of reading a day for all the commentary. And I took notes too a little bit. And I said, man, this is deep. And you notice after you read the Quran, your head right up in the front of your mind is all that Islam. And as the months go by, it drifts further in the back. But it's just going in the back, especially after you do it so often or so many times. It don't go away, and some questions come up. And in reading Maulana Maududi's tafsir, he brought in all kind of fiqh, you know what I mean, and all kind of phrases. Deen al-Malik, in other words, the deen, the way of the king. and he'll explain that instead of the Dean Al-Fitra or Dean, you know what I mean? He would explain all those things. And I really kind of liked it. So back in the 80s, I read the whole thing. And I didn't get it all until 89. When I visited Iran in 89, I didn't leave till after Ramadan. I didn't leave till Ramadan because Ramadan came in while I was in Iran, and I was happy. Because, not to stray from the point, but they was feeding me so much. I look at those pictures, my face was all puffed up. I was as big as I am now, but in those days, you know, I was thinner and running and working out and all that stuff. So their culture is, if they bring you in to speak or you visit, at first they have tea, and then they have fruit, you know, with the plate and the knives to cut the fruit, you know, just like in the Quran, when the women cut their hands with the knives. Well, they bring you, you know, pears and apples and with a knife on the little plate. And that's just to hold you off. Then they bring the heavy food in, and they just load you up. And if you're going to speak, and I would tell them, well, I'm going to speak. In those days, I didn't eat before. I still don't that much. So I wouldn't eat because, and then they was, you know, they put on that sad face. You know how foreigners do? Oh man, you feel like you're killing people and choking them, and because you just know, and you're trying to explain. See, would you tell them that? First of all, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat cello kebab. Oh, you don't eat no meat. That's how they say you got to eat meat every 40 days at least once. I said, well, the only thing, I never read that hadith, and you know, that ain't no problem. And they probably do have one like that, but I ain't never read it. Anyway, so by the time Ramadan came around, I was so puffed up, it was a shame. And I stayed there part of Ramadan. Then I went to Pakistan. When I was in Pakistan, I went straight to our book distributor, you know, and I ordered a lot of books, and I paid for them there, you know, had them shipped. It was a nice trip. And not only that, they had volume 16 of Maulana Maududi's, and it was really a worthwhile trip. Plus it was Ramadan still. Man, by the time I got back here, I was thin as a rail, because I mean, I really pulled off. They was trying to knock me out, you know. But anyway, in this translation, it says, "O you who have attained to faith, be not like the children of Israel." Okay, excuse me. "O you have attained to faith, remain conscious of Allah." Very good. "And always speak with the will to bring out only that which is just." So when you're speaking, and I'm saying that now because I'm going to go into certain subjects that are a little touchy. So I have to have, this is to help me frame up my thinking and what's the purpose of these discourses. That you speak with a will to bring out only what is just and true, whereupon he will cause your deeds to be virtuous. So that means the one that's speaking needs some help too. You know what I mean? And if you speak a word directly to the truth, kaulan sadidan, that means it will also help you. It'll help the people that you're dealing with, because this straight talk and what have you is a little different than general conversation. And according to the level of activity that you're involved in, it will also have a different weight that it carries on the people, the movement, and the ideas. So he will call your deeds to be virtuous and will forgive you your sins. And know that whoever pays heed unto Allah and his apostle has already attained a mighty triumph. So Yusuf Ali is, oh, you believe, fear Allah and make your utterance straightforward, that he may make your conduct whole and sound and forgive you your sins. He that obeys Allah and his messenger has already attained the great victory. I wanted to start off with these ayats because we have a recovery plan that we're adjusting to right now. In fact, that's what we're writing and thinking out and forging our recovery plan. We're calling it a recovery, but technically it's not a recovery because we was never in a slump. You know what I mean? Whatever that happened to us in the last several years was all part of a design plan. And if you were to read the statements that are in our books, maybe especially after 2002, you might remember some of the statements we're making to ourselves about kindness is not a weakness, it's a strength, and da 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 da. That's just, but you could probably tell that there's a light struggle going on, personal struggle, between the lines to take and how to deal with people. And you're just reminding yourself, kindness is not weakness. You know what I mean? It ain't weakness. Actually, it's a super strength. Because kindness, a lot of it comes from character and how you deal with things that come towards you in the world is what builds character. The better you behave, the more challenges you face and survive those challenges, the more your character, you develop pretty strong character. So we're thinking about here, we call this laying out a recovery plan. That means that we're going to, inshallah, go back to Oakland sometime. Maybe it's February, maybe it's March. You can read in the newspaper and hear on the news that this stuff here in California is, they make it sound unsafe. So, we giving them all the air that they can stand, So, this speaking a word direct, speaking a word that's straight, with the niyyah of bringing out only the good. That's the whole idea of bringing out good. And even now, as we go forward a little bit, if we misstate any facts, it's only because there's a deficit of facts in some areas. And when we come to a point of making a decision, I put it this way. Some people, out of 10 points, before they make a decision about something, some people will make them soon. By the time they get 4 or 5 points, they'll make a decision based on their own, how they feel about themselves, how they feel about the environment, what the subject is and what have you. They may make a decision on 4 or 5 points that they got, dealing with that subject. Some people may wait to 8 or 9 points of information. But sometime if you playing a game of deficit of information, where there's a design deficit, that you don't want to know everything. Maybe you don't want to know everything because you want to test and develop at the same time. Test your own analytical skills. Like, for instance, if you get good enough, you may get one piece of information, or you may get two. You can train yourself to one. By the time you get to 3 pieces of information, you're off and rolling. Other people may need 8 or 9 pieces. They may need everything but the exact picture of what's going on. You see what I mean? Before they can link the environment, the situation, whether it's the situation of the people making the situation or the situation making the people. What I mean is, during periods like this, or during times like war, people would say the environmental circumstances of World War II produced the type of Joseph Stalin that they had, just like it produced the type of Roosevelt, you know. And that war in Britain caused Winston Churchill to rise to a certain level. You know, he told the people, I ain't got nothing to offer but blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? That's the translation that the white boys call blood, sweat, and tears. But everybody in Britain was ready to give up, but he said that old roly-poly man, he rallied them together, and they hung on out, you know. And he translated everything as a victory. So when they got run out of France at Dunkirk, he called that a big victory. This is a big victory because we got all 300,000 of our troops out. That's a victory. Okay. Now, if Hitler would have done stuff like that when he was fighting the Russians and other people, when he was fighting the Americans, strategic retreat, they might still be fighting him now. But he kept on till you stay there till you just get mowed down. You remember that stuff? You couldn't, he didn't allow no kind of retreat, no strategic retreat. But the point is that their environment made those people, made them bigger and smarter and, you know, more intelligent. Okay? Now, during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with him receiving the revelation of Quran, his personality made the environment. So you come up with certain periods in history where the people and the situation is making the people, you know, expand and grow. And then at the same time, you have other periods in history where there's another factor, let's call it divine revelation or good things going on, and that makes the environment. So whatever it deals with, when a person is in a leadership type of position, they want to do, hopefully, take the best method to get the best out of the people. Because see, there's certain things that really build character, but it don't happen overnight. It's things like trust. You know, now we use those things all the time. For instance, there's some of our writings of around 2010 and in that era. We said, well, everybody gonna have to watch everybody. I don't know if we gonna hook that type of environment up where we gonna have to watch everybody. Well, that was a trap. Just the year before that, 2009, we laid out what we were gonna use. We said we was gonna use kindness, optimism, and humor. They don't relate to each other like mistrust. Mistrust and suspicion. So the first thing uh, some people in California said, because I had said don't mistrust in Surah Hujurat about, so, okay. So, you know, when you're dealing with game playing people, you gotta get deep game, and you gotta have pre-planned game. You gotta be way out there in front of them because they're not sincere. Like many of the people that's evolving around us, they're not sincere. And you can't make them sincere. You can beg them and hug them and plead with them. They're just not sincere. They're United States government agents, and them and a whole other. When you look at where we are and what we're doing, sometimes you might say, man, I mean, we're really on the road, because look at the things that boss man, look at the attention you get sometimes determines your value to them. And so, hey man, you'll never feel valueless around in this organization. You just won't do it. You won't feel valueless. Other people, they might have plans to make you feel valueless, but if you know what's going on, you're never going to feel valueless, because you see, number one, idiot, how much energy and time and people are you using against us, and how we dealing with it? You know what I mean? It gets serious. I mean, like, I'm not saying that we've done all right, but longevity has a lot to do. Longevity gives you time to learn, time to rest even, And that time to rest comes from you making your own rest periods. You know what I mean? You shaping your own downtime, not them shaping your downtime. Because like you put pressure on anybody in different games. The other team put pressure on you so you make mistakes. You know what I mean? That's what pressure do. It make you make mistakes. And you had a plan to do this, and that plan ain't working because they putting pressure on you. You know what I mean? In society, the system puts pressure on people all the time to make them do things. And in the criminal world, I showed y'all a stack of arrests I had from back then. Well, imagine the same thing if I run into the police this many times, that many times, and this happened and that happened, right? They're trying to maybe influence thinking and everything by putting pressure. But say if you went through that decades ago, and decades ago when they first run into it, it's working. Because you're not a teenager, but you're a young person. And when you run up on this stuff all at first, you take it like everybody else take it. You know what I mean? It destabilizes what you're doing, right? And it also makes you paranoid. And let's call it sensitive, because Bill Clinton said, just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not out to get you. In other words, what's happening to you is real. But now, once they get the ball rolling, say like once they have couple of people up on them telephone poles watching your house, then they have the PG&E truck go by. That's like a Pepco truck and all that. Well, everybody knew in those days that those in Oakland, those were, and then people call you and say, man, the police is down past your house with binoculars, because they go by the vans. And the people, like if you're really in a community thing, like you would never be subject to like the raids they would pull over there. Because the police, if they was way up there, way down there, way over anywhere, somebody gonna drive by. Oh, who are they facing? Oh man, they looking at Hank's joint. So they go to the phone and give you a call, and by the time, like that happened to us sometimes, and we'd have time to clean up. And I remember when I called the place, one of our places on 82nd, and it was my friend that was there had put everything in a big bag, and then I saw him running across the big vacant lot going to 81st Avenue because we're on 82nd. And when I drove in the spot, it wasn't nothing upstairs, but the police took my key from me and they said, this shows that you have dominion. I don't mean to change the subject, but I'll get back to dominion. Mean one thing happened at that time. The whole vice squad was there, and they took me upstairs. We had a nice talk, and that's when they offered me the whole show. Hey, you don't have to go through this all the time. And Bojack was my biggest competitor on the other side of town. So you could just, how's your nearest competitor, Bojack? I said, we're gonna play cops and robbers here. Y'all keep running around trying to put me in jail, and I'm gonna try to keep getting away. I'm not getting into no team. Now that is the same as, I don't wanna be like Posey. No, that's a gift. That's not, you know what I mean? That was a gift because other people wasn't reacting like that to the system. But that was a gift. Everybody else would have said, yeah, I help you, boss. You just leave me alone. And then boss will get you bigger and bigger. And then when it's time for you to go, he'll just send you on out the side. And off you go. But anyway, on this, speaking a word toward what is true and what have you, behavior or reaction to certain environments or realities is what builds character. And that, what came to me was a gift. Now, as you go along in life, especially with Quran and Hadith and all this history, you improve your gifts where that gets stronger. It gets stronger, but looking at the people and what happened to them, the Fleet of Drungos, the George Jacksons, and all of those type of people, which are mostly friends of mine, you know, Soledad brothers and all people, everything that was happening out there at that time, a lot of people that had been in prison. Now in prison, the thing is, you would lose respect if you let somebody turn you out into a kind of a sissy, and if you was a tattletale, a snitch, and even then little kids come up. Like our kids here in the school, if something happened, even my kids, they wouldn't tell on nobody, the other kids, because at that time, their ethics is very high. And equality, try to give one of your kids a glass of this and a glass of that. They go, hold. Let's start here, right? What they're gonna do. They want you to, a couple of drops in there. Do they do that? They want it to be exactly, they want equality. Right? You can't get no more. You can't give not in front of them. You can't just say, oh, here you go. You got a full bottle. You got to have we ain't going to have none of that. So young kids are very ethical, right? They're very ethical. Okay, where I got lucky was I kept the same ethics that we had in them little kiddie penitentiaries. They never changed. As later on, they just got better. They improved. So the general pattern is the older you get, the worse your values get. Because you wouldn't have told on nobody when you was 10 years old, but by the time you 30 or 40, they got all this time on you. You know what I mean? There's money involved. Now that's different. The people change. personally, what I'm thankful about is that there was no change except for improvement of character. We got a book called Muslim Character. I wonder how many people can stick with that. Well, those are our goals, to stick with that type of character and to build on that. So at first, what we had to do was use all of those things that exist to our benefit. So in maybe messing with people, because they messing with us, we would say, yeah, we're going to do this, but we're not going to do that. Why? Because we done said 1 year earlier, this is our arsenal. Our arsenal is kindness. Our arsenal is humor. And those are the things that are, and optimism. Those are the things that are in our arsenal. In other words, the weapons we keep are those. Why? Because these other weapons will not work on what we're trying to do. The other thing that's very important is we face certain challenges and certain evolutions. So what are we going to use in this period of evolution? Direct truth. See, nobody uses that. You can't tell direct truth to people like, if your wife says, how do I look today? Go ahead and tell her, you don't look too good, but I'm telling you, good God Almighty. Right? So you can't say that, you look fine. Oh, that's a beautiful dress, because she bought it. If you bought it, you definitely go there. That's a nice dress there. That might be the ugliest dress in the world. Right? So no matter how friendly you are with people, you have to use a lot of public relations when you speak to people. It's just normal tactics, And the hadith allow for that. To make peace between a man and wife, right? To get a treaty signed, unity between people. It's all right to stretch the truth. Or not stretch it, but ignore it. If you're using your religious know-how, you know about how far to go with this. You see what I mean? Okay, now, if we're in a struggle and we know we've been in it, even in those days we would say we've been in this for 45 years. That means we so far in it, and we went through so many changes and improvements. See, what we have to look at, like we're analyzing, where is the world today and where are we at in this? And how is everybody performing? Well, when we look at everybody else, or not everybody, the people that we've had constant activity with, right? When we look at people we've had constant activity with, their record don't look too good. Their ethics don't even look good. If we say, how long you been praying out there in front of the Islamic Center? 35, 40 years, 30, so way up in the 30s. Years praying out there. Well, what have you done? Of course, we haven't done nothing, because you can't build a community out there. Did you just stumble on that? No, because it was Iranians coming to me over on A Street, hinting that, do I think that is, actually what they're trying to do is get me to talk to the brother to say, look, we got the IAC, man. If we bring all those people out there to the IAC, we got the IAC, and we got facilities. Facilities for counseling, facilities for sports, It's a whole complex out there. They own all, even in those days, they own all those houses. And those are upper middle class houses, 4 and 5 bedroom houses. And that's Potomac, Maryland. They own those houses, go right out. If you go from the basketball court and go up that street up there, you know, I remember once we was out there and they was looking out the classroom, and Brother Hussein did the Arabic classes, and there was deer with 7, 8, 10, 14 points, and they was eating some of the flowers on the trees and what have you. And he said, y'all don't know what y'all got out here. You know, in other words, there won't be any of those. Well, there's a few around here, but that's right around here at us. But you go back over there 2 blocks, you're not going to see any deer with so many antlers and all of that. So anyway, they was hitting to me to talk to him, because in those days, see, for about 30 years, we were just like this. We was just like this. In fact, we was like roommates almost. When we had a big conference, and those big rooms, you know, the big double beds, and he'd have one and I'd have the other. We did that everywhere. I don't care whether it's Sri Lanka or wherever it was. You know, because they'd room people together sometime, the conferences, to save money. And they would do it automatically. They would room us together. And it was helpful to me because I got a chance to check my Arabic, and I got a chance to check this. I remember when I was thinking about family, you know, I was asking him, I said, you know, because sometimes yuridu means to want. So I was asking him, is it a word called uridun? You know, wanters. I was asking about my family because I was just joking to myself. They always want something. I want this, I want that. So I was calling them to myself, uridun. You know, because Allah saying that uridu, Allah wants to do this for you. He wants to make your plate full, life happy, stuff like that. So I was calling my family uridun. You know, it's a dual or plural or something like that. So I was just asking him, is it a word called uridu? He said, yes, it is. You know, it sure is. You know, so I was just laughing to myself. So I had a chance to study all the, man, it's a lot of good stuff that you get a chance to study. You know, not to stray from the subject, but we say, kad kamati salat, kamu, study kamu and its derivatives in the concordance of Quran. Kamu, it means not only to stand up, but it means to stand against. So it has some revolution in there, like Karaj, exit, Ukrijat. Ukrijat Linas, raised up mankind, but also evolved mankind. And Kawarij, the people, plural for Karaj, they got so Islamic that they exited Islam. So they call them Kawarij because they went out of Islam. Anyway, let me get back to the point. The point is, sometimes you don't have a lot to do with the hand that you're dealt, but you have everything to do with how you play your hand. So the first thing is learning how to be a good player. If you're talking about this in the game of life, you know, how to be a good player. And then, but what is the ethical point? Always play fair. Okay, let's say other people don't happen to, that's not going to be their number one rule. Number one rule is probably going to be to win, to get over, to get a better situation. But yours is not like that. No, I'm playing this fair. In order to play fair, in order to deal with ethics, morality, and character builders, you're going to have to be, you can't be like on the same level with everybody else because you're doing things that build your character. If you resist, that means that's like all of society pulling against you and you resisting they pull, right? Therefore, the gravitational pull of society is pulling against you, so you are developing a stronger base, a stronger resistance, right? That's what it is. Okay, I'll try to stay focused here, because in speaking a word that is straight, we want to bring the best out of people. We know how, after you get so much experience, you know how you're going to be treated. And you know what the behavior is going to be like. Example, when I was talking about using the IAC, that was a certain time, because even going overseas in other places, you know where people had them cards where they can go into the ambassador room at the airport, and where they got snacks, they got little things you can lay back on, you know. And so when we used to go overseas a lot, we would get the same flight, you know. And I didn't have one of those cards. So he would go to Desi, I like to bring, you know, a friend in. And he'd bring, I'd go on in, and we'd kick back. And, because some of the flights would be an 8-hour layover, 6-hour layover. And it's comfortable just to kick back, and you can tell the people, if I take a nap, my flight is at 5 o'clock. So if you could wake me at 4, you know, and I'll just zip on down and we'll be ready to go. So these things develop. Now, after 96, after Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui made his statements when he was in might as well call it Johannesburg, but it was outside of Johannesburg. But that's what they would call it, Johannesburg. Things start to change with everybody in that crew, okay? So Crescent started to change a little bit, right? Zafar Bangash began to change a little bit. Even after what Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui said, when they had his janazah in London, they invited somebody to come and do the prayer, but they didn't invite me, although, you know, I'm considered the best Sahaba. But see, other people might have been hiding up next to Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui, which I would almost say I'm sure of that. So they didn't respect him like I did, because they had a job. He was their target. He was their target, just like the Rahbar got people around him. He's the target. The foreign ministry are like, man, the longevity is a big deal. The foreign ministry are like, they really raising up in a lot of ways. And I would say they got the best foreign ministry out of, because them guys, between Iran, China, and a few more, they got classic, you know, because they've been studying this. Like they don't throw people away. Like when even President Ahmadinejad, he has a whole compound with a staff that he pays and directs. Why? Because he's on the Expediency Council to help expedite things that happen in the government, and also not to lose his years as president. He gained a lot of information and a lot of functionary characteristics. So they don't throw, like if you're a big shot, they don't throw you away and okay, you done lost, you go back to being a big thieving, lying lawyer or something like that, or you served in the no. Because they knew they had a deficit. It's the same thing in the military. Their people, they didn't really did a good job, but there are certain parts. When I talk about education, I'm talking about the ability to influence. So if you look at the foreign ministry, a lot of it is Western educated. And once they get into power, this is something, I'm not saying this by myself, Soleimani, that was martyred a year ago, he said the same thing. He said the same thing to the parliament and those people that I said to them. The exact same words he said to them, because I had some information. He said, no, man, he said exactly the same thing you did. You cannot be arguing with each other at this time. You can't have cliques. Oh, my clique is this and my clique is that. You'll become like Americans. He didn't say that, but I did, right? You'll become Democrats. You'll become Republicans. They got 2 or 3 Greens and people running around. And they fighting now down in Georgia in a couple of days to have a vote for them senators, right? So they all know if they get them couple of Senate seats, they got an opportunity to make some moves because the Negro lady, the Indian, whatever she is, she can vote, in the Senate. The vice president breaks the tie in the Senate, okay? How could one team from the same country be so solid in their votes that out of 50 people, not one of them gonna come over to the other side, no matter what the proposal it is, right? That means that they're frozen and they're not gonna allow each one of them, don't make no difference who gets in there. They're not gonna allow, we're not gonna, oh, no. Like one of those guys is always crying, one of those senators, supposed to be so emotional. He said, I ain't letting Obama do nothing. Ain't nothing going past me. And it's true. That's why I said, well, for a Negro, he didn't do too bad. I said, I thought they was going to just put him in there, blame everything on him, which they did, and then he was going to be a total failure. But he pulled off, the things he pulled off was the biggest thing in the show. You know what I mean? He was the enemy of the meanest man in the world, old Netanyahu, right? Netanyahu hated him. Netanyahu came over here to the Congress. I'll get back to the subject in a minute. And he got standing ovations, and it was all because it was against Obama. And they didn't want nothing that Obama wanted, especially that treaty, right, with the Iranians. Okay? Now, that don't mean that the people making it was so nice and good and all that. But the point is that the people that were sincere about Iran said, you cannot be divided amongst yourselves. You can't do that. And that's what clicks. Imam Khomeini disbanded the political parties, in Iran. So there's no different political parties. But you got these cliques, and if you don't, I heard some people told me that they hated certain other people because of their economic plan. Do you know, same thing right over there in the Daftar, same thing right over there. Who was over there? Western educated people, and they thought economy. We kissed these white folks behind. Okay. If you think I'm lying, look at what's happened over the last few years. All the big demonstrations with, who was we having all them demonstrations with? Answer, not only Answer, but Darl Hydra and all them people was in. They were all them people. Okay, what happened? You want to see on the news what happens? How do they get to have their people in all the alternative media and everything, right? How do they do that? Imagine if we was a standard American or even a revolutionary type activist, unless we had lived through that period and just sit right there and looked at it, right? And been directly involved. So when we see Brian Becker on RT, you know, he's an expert on everything, right? His brother out there in California, KPFA, yeah, he's an expert on everything. Yesterday I was watching RT. Was that RT? It was RT. What's her name? Amy Martin or something? The girl Martin. Yeah, she's from out there, homegirl. She had a program and had a guy, an Iranian expert on there from here. He was saying exactly what we would have said. Yes, I was in Iran in 2017 and Okay, so the Iranians brought him over there, and their people educated him. What he said in his book, this is a new book, Iran, something other. If you can look up Amy Martin on your thing, she had just an interview with this guy, and I listened to the interview, and everything he said about. And then the interviewer was her. He wrote it. She was saying, you know where they set up the questions? Hey, I said, man, look at here. And then when I think about RT, I think how I got on there at first. First, Naji was at the station over here. Naji knew an Egyptian woman. When she would come here, nice looking Egyptian lady. She'd have one of them Negroid looking, you know, what they had is wavy, not straight. I said, that girl could be colored. You know, not because she was healthy or nothing, but working over at RT. For a while, I'd go through RT like I was owning the place. I'd go, and then after a while, they cut it. Now, we know that if America is going to hire Americans for a Russian television program, it's like Americans in Russia going to have a program. You think who they going to hire? Russians. And who they going to be? They going to be who they are. Same thing here. So you get a feel of how this is working out. So I looked at another thing that Amy Martin is, and Myra Van Houten, I think I mentioned her. Who is she? This is the same white girl that was talking to me over at Darl Hydra. Say, you know, you have this position, and she was just saying that they respect white people, you know. And she's a lawyer, so-called civil rights lawyer. Now, what she's saying to me and you could go around and talk to them, and we could hit the ball out of the park. That's basically what she was saying. That's what she's saying to me. Go where her and Amy is standing right on the stage with Care and everybody the other day. All of them was there. Every last one of them. Amy Martin, Myra Van Houten, because Amy says, and I want to say such and such, this is my friend, we didn't see her, but Myra Van Houten, that's the white lady from way back, olive oil looking lady. I mean, she looks nice, but she's olive oil, she was in. I mean, real live, olive oil, whoever she was, you know. And then they had enough nerve to think that, because I called the house and the brother answered, and he was mad, like, what you doing calling my woman? I said, I was hinting like, well, I just got this number, it's on a card right here, and I just wouldn't mind talking. Well, who is this? I said, this is your dear brother. I knew what white boy it was, I said, it's your dear brother. So anyway, it didn't fly, but I'm telling you, when you're involved in this, you can see where everybody's coming from. There's Amy Martin, there's CARE, there's RT, there's Brian Becker, there's Amy Martin again, there's Chris Hedges, there's the other black wavy-headed black woman, the new Jim Crow. They all make sense, but they don't do nothing. Why is it all these people, they got the game down, but they're not doing nothing? What would prevent them from getting together and not having an explanation of things, right, but action on things? Why do they talk to us about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and try to take us back on a civil rights ride backwards to them and not pay attention to what's happening today, right? Why is Black Lives Matter and every other group that we can see, oh, you should have heard it the other day. Black Lives Matter now have refocused. They know what they want now. I said, now, you got to imagine now, you have to have self-control to deal with these people. You got to be strategic. You got to plan way ahead. Now, if this stuff has been happening for, let's say, 40 years, and this stuff here for the last 20 years, remember, I came to Washington, D.C. with one thing in mind. I call it to get the game. Because I got all the game in California, and I wanted to come here, and that's exactly what happened. Because California, that's way out on the exterior, and I might not have seen and worked with all of these groups like we did, and at that period of time. Okay, let's get back to Iranians. They're going to have to do a lot of straightening up. Which ones? The Army Chiefs of Staff? No. The ones educated here in America. When I was at the UN last time, and I was sitting by the door, what's her name was sitting right next to me. Over at Iswa, Faisal Khan. He was sitting right next to me, and everybody came down. Imam Musa, I haven't seen you in 34 years. That means that they had to be sitting together and studying. Okay, Imam Musa's down there. You go down. When was the last time you saw him? Well, I left University of Kansas such and such a year, so it's been 34 years since then, whenever it was. That's the first thing he said. Okay, so that means that all of these guys know who has certain inputs with these people. When I was last down there, or the time before last, when I walked in, what's her name, stood up and saluted, Zarif. He was considered a real good friend of mine, and technically, he still is a friend of mine. Then why was when he was going to go to Syria before, they didn't let him go to Syria at that time, and they kept him in Tehran to meet his friends, the little white lady. What's her name? Medea Benjamin. Code Pink. What problem do they have? The government had told them, evidently from their behavior, or somebody that say we got action in the government. Here's their problem. Your problem is this Imam Musa guy. He cannot appeal to Americans. He don't talk in a way that appeal to Americans, right? Well, he's been our friend, that's not the point. If you want to get into America, this white folks telling them that, you want to touch the heartstring and you want your story told, you get rid of that nigga or that man. You get rid of him. And I know some people that do the same thing. How is it that the Pakistani Shias, every one of them, I'm sitting there at a lecture and Medea Benjamin is on a lecture thing with me, and she done wrote a book about Saudi Arabia, and something come up I said, well, which course was right. And they had her on the stage with me. What the hell is she doing on the stage with me? She's not even nowhere in the classification. She's not within 100 miles of Imam Musa on Saudi Arabia, because she ain't been fighting with him. We've been tussling with him at that time for 40, almost, that was just a few years ago. We've been tussling with, we know everything about how they're gonna come. You know what I mean? But they told them, you wanna get your point across, we'll get you involved. And then, did y'all see the thing about Amy Martin? Abby. Abby, did you see it? Was it old or was it recent? This was recent. I didn't see it. Amy Martin. There's a book on Iran. I forgot the name. The name of the program? Was it her program? Or? She was on CARE down in Texas a few days ago. Okay, because I see something from CARE, but about Abby Martin. This was within the last few months. Okay, the point was who was there. She was on the stage and CARE. They look like who they are. Middle class, suited down. They look like the white man down in Texas. Meeks or whatever his name was. Right. That's what, look, they done told them. You could tell by their behavior. They've been, and then they have an inferiority complex. Some of the big ones, Iranians don't have too much of a fear. Because they Indo-Europeans, that's what they call Iranians. You know, and Iran had power before, and they didn't stood up. But there's some educated here. That's why they got so-called hardliners back home and the sweetie pie guys here. Why did I go out to Manassas the last time I'd had anything to do with, I went out there and all of the brothers was there. That's when I was it was in February, just when I was getting over that stuff year before last. Year before last in January was when I was, in fact, I was still in the hospital this January 30th, I was still in okay. All of them was in it. All of them was in it. Since all of them was in it, they all getting the same. Why are all the Shias, even the one that come from Europe, wherever they come from, they all used to come giving Imam Musa a big hug. Why? That ain't happening no more. That means they all getting the same. They told them, if you want to get your program over, you have to pull that man, his face, his voice, his attitude, make white people feel uncomfortable. What they wanted to say is you got to get rid of that nigga, because any discussion with him around, he's going to tell you what we're up to. In other words, they can't negotiate. And this negotiation stuff with America started years ago. I mean, I have some, we're going to talking with them. I say, hey, man, okay, you ought to have somebody in the room. This is what you ought to have the Negro or an American Indian. Not American. Yeah, you ought to have somebody in there that know boss man. You don't know him. He's going to paint you a beautiful picture right now and up the street. But when you drink it, after a few years, you're going to be walking down the street and drop dead or go crazy or something. He always do it, right? Tell the truth. He's never not done that. So he can't, we're going to have a JCPOA or whatever. You sure you are. And they had the little white woman right there sitting right next to Zarif all the time. Yes, we're going to make this work. The little white lady was president of the European thing. I'll think of her name in a minute. A nice little white lady, you know. Huh? No, not, she's technically from Italy, but she was the head of, she looks like she's a Swede or something. She has kind of blondish hair. Nice little white lady. You know, at least she seemed like that. Because when I was in Iran, she was there. She wore the hijab. You'd think she was a Muslim. She looked like the lady down in New Zealand. Remember when all the people got killed in New Zealand? And the prime minister, white lady, had on hijab. I think she might have been a little semi-serious. I don't know, you know. But she looked like, hey, girl, that's a Muslim now, you know. So anyway, that's the games they play. But you got to remember, if you see Zarif standing with all the people, carriers over here, and all the white people standing there in line, and then there's a white lady standing right next to Zarif all the time. You know, I don't know how I'm forgetting her name. But anyway, what, do you find anything about Amy Martin them, or Abby Martin them, and Care? They had a meeting down in Texas somewhere. But anyway, let me get back to this thing about trust, environment, and character building. I want to get back to this thing about the gift in most times is bigger than the person. Like if you have a gift of a character and you stick to it, it's gonna make you a bigger and bigger and better person. That's what the gift do. See, you gotta remember, that's why we can be relaxed and how we deal with people, because a lot of people are not given that gift. They're not given, they got other gifts. They can run fast, they can do, but they don't have that gift. Very few people that you ever even find that have the gift to have the ability to resist a government. They just don't do it, hardly. Especially when the government got everything in its disposal and will use it all. Anyway, the Iranian Foreign Ministry has access. Now remember, the Foreign Ministry, when I was sitting in the spot with Zarif one time, you know, where the diplomats come in. Sometimes we go, and we don't have to go through passport control. They just take our passport, they get it stamped, or we're going on the plane, we'll go through the diplomatic corps sometime. And sometimes the cars are diplomatic cars. You know, they got the little flag on it and you just ride around in the back seat to the program. So sometimes it's part of the staff of the diplomatic corps. They drive certain kind of cars, they wear a gray suit. You could tell they're part of the diplomatic corps. Years ago, they started taking me to Iran, and before I had full access to everybody, and I was always on, if they have a group on the stage, I would speak, and then I would also, be the MC, not the MC, but they might have 4 or 5 people on stage. So after they hear you speak, then you got up there on the stage again. This is giving you credibility. So that was a time when I'm getting direct access to everybody like that. Okay, then it comes a time some years ago that I'm in the big mix, all the big auditoriums, I'm going through all of that, but they're taking me outside of town, not outside of town, but out in the north. And I'm going through the period. Some of this was not bad because they're sending me through a period of examination because they can't believe that nobody's this accurate on them. I'm more accurate on them on there, and they know it. Everybody knows it. So there's a period, all those articles on management and leadership, the 2009 period and 2010, even like that. Okay, during that period, 10 years ago, I'm going, from that time up till the last time I was there, I'm not just hanging out here, I'm going back to those places, especially after the conference is over. And sometimes they're bringing me specifically for that I go and I talk to institutions. I'm staying there extra period, and I'm going and I'm speaking to research institutions. That's who I'm speaking to. And I'm speaking to 4 and 5 people, I'm speaking to 10 people, and I'm speaking to staffs. I'm not speaking because they realize that there's some gift going on. Evidently the gift is because they did their research, to resist this system and to explain to them who is who and what's what, because I look at it like we're on the same team. Plus behavior and all of that, so that's pretty good. But then there's a shift. The last few trips I was there, they trying to challenge or find holes in it. And I said, no, I ain't no hole in that, I'm sorry. And this last time on the JPC or whatever that was, I told them, I said, that's a good idea. You just go and sign the thing with them and then double cross them because they're going to double cross you. There's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing you could do about it. Absolutely nothing. And you got to remember, 10 years ago, that was in April of 2011. This is about 10 years ago. The whole outline of we had built up from there will be no Arab Spring. When was there Arab Spring? The middle of it, when they're supposed to have the rebellion. It comes in on February the 11th, same time as the revolution was. And that's when it's supposed to pop up real big. It's all arranged. I said, that's all arranged. Muhammad Al-Asi and Masood Chajari called me from Tahrir Square around that time, and they told me, no, why they calling me? They calling me. I didn't say that it won't be no Arab Spring, and they calling me to tell me it is an Arab Spring. Well, why you calling me to tell? I ain't told with a few Negroes that it wasn't no. How y'all hear about it anyway, right? It ain't gonna be no Arab Spring. And they calling me to tell me it's happening. We're in Tahrir Square. You can hear the noise right now. So it don't make no difference what's going on. Just like I told the brothers that you might probably see, or I hinted to some of the ones on the news, like our other brother, and the brother came over here a few months ago after. The whole thing was, did you see the faces of those wonderful young people? They're talking about white people. You got to remember, I'm talking about some of these people. What was the white boy that's on RT? He played like he was a Muslim for a while. Stone was his name. Huh? Something like that. Oh, the guy on the TV, my friend. I'm over there before. I got to go somewhere now, because this brother has accepted Islam. And he loves Imam Khomeini, and on and on and on. I looked at him like, hey, shit, excuse me, you must be drinking. Excuse my expression. You can scratch that off the I know you can't scratch. But I'm saying, what? As much knowledge as you have about these people, here you're, and then, not that just because I'm black, and when a Negro accepts Islam, great for you, good for you. Boy, you're going to be all right now. But when white folks, this is not Shias or Sunnis, this is all of them, right? All of them. What? It was a couple of people over here talking about it. Anyway, it's a long story. So I said, basically, so what? And then I have mentioned to them, you guys cannot act like that with white folks. I said, number one, white folks not going to respect you. And here we are looking at you like you're crazy. All black people know that they might be around today or tomorrow, but if any heat comes, they're going, unless it's their job. Look at who they got now. Myra Van Houten, Care, Abby Martin, them, because I was investigating them, and I liked she was breaking the thing, I liked, but they got their whole crew. The way I look at it is, that's their damn crew. And that's what they told the Iranians, because she was invite the guy, I'll show it to you later. She invited the guy, she was interviewing this guy. There's a new book on Iran, something or other. No, this is about, it might have a little bit in it. This guy wrote a book, if you see any book in the last couple of years about Iran, and the guy, I'm telling you, they've researched now, and they know about Iran. And they recite back, here's where they have a problem. All the horses and all the king's men can't put Humpty Dumpty back together. All of them all together, cannot come up with a simple thing like, remember 10 years ago too, it was, wasn't no Arab Spring, and it's going to be a regional, I don't know if it's going to be regional. Whatever happens in that area, it's going to be regional. That was 10 years ago. That's 10 years ago. And I outlined what the steps was going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it'll be victory. Okay. They can't all, see, I'm listening to them now. They can't touch it. They cannot touch it. Okay, here's the thing where Iran made their mistake and where they're vulnerable if they keep it up. They're vulnerable to Parliament having this issue, that issue, and not having the priorities hooked up, or the Majlis. They're vulnerable, and you just saw it the last 2 punches with the white folks. I didn't have anything to do with JPOI, whatever it was. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. But where's Imam Musa? All the program, you would be shocked if you would realize, even if I was driving to one of our programs, the car would stop. When I send my family back, then the car would start up. And I drove to Kansas City Airport, and then I flew to it because we was going to go by the Grand Canyon and all that. So we left several days ahead of time. But I only got out to the program, plus I couldn't bring all the books and all of the pamphlets that I had, because that's spreading. See, they don't control, even if they have tables, right, and they got a lot of people trying to do you in, they can't do everybody in. Example, in the 2004, 5 and 6 period, I would have all of those CDs and some DVDs, and the people would come and buy them and da-da-da-da-da. And so everybody would have access to it. After a while, they come through and take them all. They take them all. How much? Okay. Now, if I wasn't watching, I would think, oh, they just love me and my talks, which one of them they do love. But after you watch for a few years with longevity, then you go to the one we went through the other year, and then a couple of ones, the one when I got busted upside the head, and all of those, then it all falls into place. That's what longevity, you know what I mean? It falls into place, and you see, and what is it that when you don't find not one Iranian, now, don't forget now, of course, we got all the blessings. We have nothing to cry about at all. But 96% of our problem, of course, white man was already watching us, but comes from Iranians. If I'm going around, if I'm the best one out of all the people, and the only one that's not cutting their throat, right? Then, if the FBI agent Old Daly come in 87 to the masjid in Oakland, so I could tell you, I said, just get your butt out of here, get on out of here. He ain't said, he just turned around and started walking the door. I just want to, in case Rafsanjani, I said, what do Rafsanjani have to do with me? So what he was trying to, just in case anybody tried to get you to do something, we just didn't want you to do it. I said, man, you must be crazy. And I got him outside. I'm talking about dope and everything. And you'll think we are involved. And I said, yeah, I was in that. Remember what I was in? That's what I was in. And then before that, something came up. And that's 87, so I hadn't been out several years. They actually said, we're proud of you, because ain't nobody else that stayed out that long. There was a dope dealer and a big one, because they can't do it. You can't, you know what I mean? You can. But once you done tasted all the power and the money, the notoriety and all of that, you're almost going to die in it. All of my friends, they got one friend of mine, just this old folks law, the new old folks thing, they just let him out. His hair is pure white, and he guided his son, brought him in the car, but we was all big way back then. We was the first big crew. And he became a Muslim, but he just couldn't do it. I mean, from right away, I see him at the house, and then the next thing, he's in jail. And I took my sons with me when I was in the San Francisco County Jail. They said, Dad, he looks tired. We were still young then. I said, yeah, it's 18 years. He's looking at 18 years, and he's probably going to do them. He knocked them 18 down and came back and got some more. And finally, he was in this time, because you feel like you gotta have it. Okay? So the FBI, no, we're proud of you. I say y'all ought to be. You had dope people coming, some coming to the front door, then some coming to the back door, one saying, we got just what you need to build all the mosques you want. And then at the back door, the guy is saying, hey man, I need just what they gonna give you at the front door. They're not saying that, but that's exactly the way it's happening. And they figure you gotta fall for it. And I'm telling you, dear believers, we had a chance from this period of so-called wandering in the wilderness, from 70s, mid-70s to the end of that 5-year period. I got a chance to do and misdo everything. So by 1980, I said, I ain't doing nothing, I don't want nothing, this is what I'm doing. Because I didn't have a chance to get out and do Islam 75%. Boop, right back. It ain't gonna. Then I get another chance, and now, shoot, I'm pushing 85%. And it ain't nothing wrong. Boop, right back. For no apparent reason. And you saw what they said, that letter I had in 81. We don't want you doing that. We don't want you doing that. I was kiss my behind. So when I came out the last part of the early part of 81, I was fixed. So it was, since then, no. I don't do that. I don't care what you say. I am not even dreaming about it, because they bring you your old dream. You want to organize all the Negroes in the United States and be the big coordinator of all of that. Got that covered. I don't want it. So, because you can't have me feeling the way I feel right now. You don't have it, because you don't feel that way. And you don't have nobody in your administration. You don't have nobody in your government that feels the way I do now, and been feeling ever since I started doing right. So that doing right means that the gift of doing right, you improve. Because every time you improve a little bit, you can see the results somewhere. You can feel the results. So eventually, I'm going to get to say a word that's straight and what I meant by that, instead of all this background. Okay, but I'll try to speed it up. The word, speak a word straight, is strategic openness. When I go to California, my friends I'll call his name so you see I'm serious. It was George Cooper and Jesse Lee. George Cooper had been my best friend since 57, something like that. We just hung around together, We used to run in the hills. When I came home, I was a weightlifter, and they was boxers. So we'd go in my car up to the hills every morning and run and do that. We was that way. But I was black orientated, and the people, this is right in the middle. If I come home in 65 and 66, you know what I mean? And you were, nobody never even seen a Nation of Islam, or, well, they had seen a few, but they wasn't popular, and they wasn't doing it like naturally and not, So can you imagine a Negro at that age, 20-something years old, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do nothing, don't eat no pork, and even as a vegetarian, you know how many vegetarians it was in those days. technically. Negro vegetarians, about 4 or 5 in the United States probably. Right? Okay, so they didn't know, they was looking at me like, all my friends, they just had the silliest look, like, what do you do? Well, I go to work. I run in the hills and lift weights, and I do stuff like that. That's what you do. And so, what strategy would we use now? Strategic openness, going all the way with everybody. So I'm going to ask my friend, and the reason I'm saying it because you can tell when they call that they done heard something of the sort. They will hear today that when I come back, I'm going to ask those direct questions. I'll also ask like simple things like in the 80s and 90s that false arrests when you supposedly went to Colombia and came back through Costa Rica and went to jail down there, and you were supposedly in Reforma, and you came back weighing about this much. I know that was false. You was trying to prove to me, the government and you, that you wasn't who you was. And I said, who you was? Well, good God Almighty. Now, you can imagine if we're smuggling all of that cocaine and nobody goes to jail but me. Never. I mean, even back before that. Can you imagine? Only the leader goes to jail. Only me. That's why this silly people that call on the thing, you was doing this and doing that. Well, dummy, go find the people that I put in jail then, nigga. This is insanity. And everybody in Oakland knows that. Can you imagine? I'm the only one who go to jail. So out of all the people that was going down to Colombia, none of the runners, none of the arrangers, none of the customers, nobody went to jail. And when I asked about the little New Orleans looking girl that was my assistant at that time, because remember, I'm down there and I can't, so I was fortunate, and then I know who sent her too now, because you wait 50 years, you find out, oh yeah, that's who sent you down there. Yeah, it's wonderful. Because see, people think we do this, and it's hidden for a year, sometime 10 years. Sometime, just like this, I was talking to my partners last year. Yeah, I know so-and-so. I said, that's right. Now I know, is what I'm saying to myself. Now I know who, because I would ask, hey, man, the little girl stopped coming down, and she said her father said to stop coming down there. Of course, we was young, and the young girl would be young enough that her father, she's in her early 20s, to say, you can't do this, that, or another. But that's not what happened. Not what happened at all. And why, in this modern times, wouldn't they want me to see that girl? And why would someone say, well, she's fat and everything now? Good God Almighty. People know too much about what they don't supposed to know nothing about. How would they have seen? Who told them? Well, when I went to California, I told my partner, I said, yeah, man, whatever to so-and-so, I wanted to holler at her, wanted to talk to her, and da-da-da-da-da. And nothing came up. So I was just telling my partner, I said, yeah, well, I'm telling him now. I said, I don't think that was real, because by the time I'm a Muslim in the masjid and in the 80s, he goes down and gets a case down there. But he gets a case to prove, that he's all right, that he didn't, that what, forget about See, my goal at that time, I fulfilled my goal. But I got lucky. They were supposed to make a big delivery of money, and I was supposed to take it back to Africa. Well, I went to Africa with what I had, which was a nice little piece of money. But when I went through France, it says that you have to fill out if you're taking money from here to there. And I thought it was just like the U.S. I didn't fill it out. It just so happens they happened to pat me down, and I had to pay 10%. They still got it over there now. That's probably how they rebuild the church in Notre Dame with what they took from me. No, I'm telling you, look. So if I would have taken what I was going to take, see, you got to remember in Africa and the people that we have, you can tell kind of the relationship with the people that this is an important thing. You know what I mean? If they developed a center, they might have had some help to develop. You don't ever know. But anyway, this move to isolate, and I'm not saying who's the only real one, but out of them, looking at all of them, it don't look too good. Oh no, it don't look no good at all. It looks like it's all one big setup, and they have arranged all of their people in a certain way. That's what it looks like. It looks exactly like that. And it don't look like it just started last week or last year. It's been going on from day one. But here's what I want to say. Everything they have done in relation to me has been a benefit. Everything. You know, I'm not dealing dope. I'm going to work. I've been enjoying work. I tell the whole crew that's on the thing, I'm feeding the machine, and the boxes come off and stack them, you know, go around the thing. I'm telling y'all, take a break, and I feed the machine. I go check the glue lap, and then I go and stack them with a sweatshirt on. I was 20 years old, so you just, you know, and it's running. They come back. Yeah, man. That's all right. I said, yeah. Well, I was getting a workout. I like to do that. So I didn't mind working. And after getting paid $1.50 a day for most of my life, shoot, after I was getting, what was we getting in? Maybe $3 an hour. $3 an hour? Shoot. Taking home $100 a week? Man, forget all that. You know. Hey, man, I was in heaven. You know, okay. But you have to look at it like this. Those people had never seen a lot of those things that was happening, and they wanted to divert me by getting me to sell dope. And I'm telling you, Jesse Lee and George Cooper gave me, of course there's no statute of limitation, that's a long time ago. They borrowed $200 from me. And then they gave me my $200 back, and they gave me $500 worth of marijuana in plastic bags, and they gave me, it was fat, extra from what everybody else. One thing you get $10, one matchbox is $5 of weed. 3 matchboxes was $10, and they gave me matchboxes with 4 or 5. They was just stuffing it in there, in the $10 bags. So I sold them right away. I said, well, what am I doing with this? So I just went around to everybody I know I had sold them. I mean, pop, just like that. Imagine in 2 or 3 days or less than a week, you bring home $500 a week, but now you done sold them, and you got $500, like $5 million or something like that, right in your hand. What? So I went by my partner's house. Well, y'all got any more of them, what's his name? Any more of that No, we ain't got it. So I had to hook up with my partner down, and I sent you some pictures. The pictures we sent to L.A., yeah, those are pictures of my friend down in L.A. And we go down there, and he would hook me up. And we got rich. I mean, real rich. Nobody ever got rich in marijuana in Oakland. But then, when I retired for a while and the white folks want to bring you out of retirement, no other Negro connections, white boys with crates of real packaged, what the Negroes were selling me for a kilo was probably about 1.5 pounds. But a kilo is 2.2 pounds. And the kilos was $55 from the white boys, and this big and this high. And I just went to crazy, just bring me all, I don't want to tell it, but anyway, like if you got a convertible and you got all the car filled up in the trunk and everything, and in those days, so there's no more room. One shipment I bought in Berkeley, and I had to get back to Oakland with it. Shoot. I just let the top back zzz, and put it all in the car, and let the top back up. Then a white boy went and picked up a shipment one time. I couldn't get it all out of the crate, get it in the car, so I just let your top back, I guess that's it. And then he closed the top back up, and a white boy driving down the street in a Cadillac with a big crate this long and several trips. It just happened. No, it jumped off. But remember, what we're using now, strategic openness. So this is well thought out. Strategic openness means, what are you going to use? What strategy? Everything has been tried except openness. Word for word truth. That's what we're doing this period. So I hope nobody's ever shocked if we just sit down and start talking about correct truths, things that have been observed and where we want to go. Because see, people believe in that white man. They believe him today. People believe it. They believe that no matter what the news say, he ain't going nowhere. He gonna be here. They cut kids in these colleges, and they think they're gonna get a good education and they're gonna be higher and smarter than me. You can't prove that. Boss man. And I know from my family. I'm telling you, I know this from everything that happens. I know that my grandson is not dead. I'm almost certain of it. Because nobody acted enough like he was dead. And they buried him quick before I could get out there. Because I said, just let me know if it's going to be tomorrow or the day after, so I can get on out there. He was buried right away. And whether it's a witness protection program, they can give a Negro a little beeper and put one on me or in my car. And if I get within 100 miles of that person, they tell him going over that way. Because the beeper will get louder and louder, he's getting closer and closer. Whatever they do, that's old time stuff. But now they got all kind of, it'll just show up on the screen or on your phone. Move it on out, brother. Go west for 50 miles and check in a hotel or something, and then come back after he passed by on the highway going wherever he's going. That's the way I feel about it, because my son kept telling me, Dad, this is what happened. I said, that's not what happened. And I got it all wrote down. I say, on that day that you're talking about, no, you did it on. I said, that's not the way it is. And I got it all wrote down. So he's trying to tell me about a different day. It wasn't in the sequence. about the phone call. They called me at a certain time and da-da-da. I said, no, them niggas called me early. They called me early in the morning. And it was still night out there. You know what I mean? And the shots that was heard going around, and everybody not even acting like he's dead. And I told my son last time I was out there, I said, I don't believe it, and I'm not putting up with it. And he said, well, so he said, well, you seem to know everything else. In other words, I agree with you, because ain't nobody acting dead if he's dead. And don't think they don't fake no deaths on nobody. If you think that, you got the wrong thing. They'll send you on out of here dead as a doornail, and you be live as Clive or somewhere, partying back. No, if you stay around here too long and you can't get out, they will arrange a routine for you that you will get out. In fact, they will arrange the routine that you're supposed to be. They'll say you got a kidney or foot trouble for 50 years. Then they don't have no extra foot for you, nothing. They'll just, this is just the way it looks to me. I don't know. Allah knows best. But they do that all the time. The policy I follow is the one, it wasn't Die Hard, but it was the same guy. He had another old CIA friend that went crazy, and he got a message that he was dead or something. He was in the funeral home, and this guy, Willis, was his name Willis? He went and stick the guy with a pen to see he was dead. He just looked, because this is his friend. He said, I don't believe he's dead, which he wasn't. But if I was going out to my grandsons, I'd have took some pepper and put it under his nose and everything. So he, right? No, I'm telling you, it wouldn't, look, you can say what you want. You do this long enough, it gets good. Remember, you cannot always design the hand that you're dealt, but how you play it is totally up to you. How you play that hand is up to you. Especially when you say, I'm going to play this fair. This game is going to be fair. The game I participate in is going to be fair. And this, talking to people straight, the Iranians should straighten their behind up in a hurry, because they look, forget about 10 years ago, no Arab Spring. This stuff here, we've been telling them, Najaf, Karbala is all, it didn't even make sense till last year. Same day, it's the 3rd, isn't it? Yeah. Soleimani gets martyred, and the whole shape, everybody come out of the house. Everybody is out in Iraq. Everybody, and they're trying to cause fitna between Iran and Iraq, and they take both bodies to Najaf and Karbala, and then they take them to Iran. And everybody's out by the millions. 7 million in Iran. In Tehran. 4 or 5 million in other cities. I don't know how many people's out today, but after 1 year, they have that again. Okay. The same thing was what's going on now. They should have a few details. They don't have the details because they just white. When they cut me out, they cut themselves and the white folks only. So that's not smart. That's not smart, and it's not good. Okay, do what you want to, because in all other fields they're doing very well. We feel very happy about. Years ago, we had a program in Tehran, and Zarif was managing the program. And so they said, Muhammad al-Assi says that the United States is going to attack Iran. What do you say? I said, they can't attack. They want to, yeah, but they're not going to pull it off. Shoot, that was 7 or 8 years ago there. You know, ain't no way. They can't do it. They was in Afghanistan, losing. And the trick was to get them in Afghanistan to make them feel real tough about Iraq, and they floated over there with that bad attitude, and they still crying now. You can see they're crying rivers of tears right now. In Afghanistan, and the Taliban, all of them, they don't know how, I'm not going to say dumb, but inaccurate and that a Taliban, you ever see those Muslims that have a blank look on their face, you know what I mean? That don't, from that crew, they got a blank look. It ain't nothing happening. It's just like, what do they say? The elevator, the lights is on, but the elevator don't go all the way to the top. Hey, man, I seen we was in Pakistan, Brother Zafar and I, and Brother Muhammad Al-Asi, we was buying some books down by the tomb of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the first leader of Pakistan. And there some of them was blank, nothing going on psychologically. They'll kill you because they just robotic. I said, man, we better get out of here, because we all knew what we was looking at. I said, we better get out of here. If they knew who we was, these Iranian-friendly Sunnis and all of that, hey, man, these guys, hey, that's why let them keep on. I'm not feeling like anything is going to happen, because the Islamic Republic got their stuff together. But it's something that some parts of it they don't have together. And the only part is the contact. The foreign ministry controls the contact with all the outside world. See, our friends, our people we know, most of the ambassadors and all of that, intersections are in the hands of the white folks lovers. That's what I just said. Call them white. The white folks lovers. No, you can prove. They show you. Hey, some of them, I got a friend that you would think he was running for the president of the United States. And they asked the kind of questions that, right? We didn't see them on TV. Hey, it's clear. And then old Don, when he takes people's visas away, he said that person cannot come here anymore. So they won't be able to come back till Don leave next week, or whenever he leave, right? He'll be back right on the show, same ones. Hey, right? This is something we have to be patient with. That if someone has to be thrown overboard and straw choosing, usually they're going to fix it so the Negro get the straw to get thrown overboard. Every time. They can't help it. And you gotta work with that. You have to work with your people that don't care nothing about you. They care more about the ones that's trying to kill you than they care about you. They do. And they listening. You could turn flips and swim backwards for 40 miles. You can go underwater for 19 minutes. It don't make no difference. Just don't make no difference. They going with boss man. Boss man stay underwater 2 minutes. Boss man has got it going on. This is because we've been trained. We can't overlook training. We've been trained for this. So now here we come. Everybody's believing foolishness, and you're going to come with the truth. You got to allow them time to digest the truth. So that's why we're calling this strategic openness. Now I'll speed up a little bit. Foreign ministry controls access to embassies. That means the people in Iran that are having programs with outsiders, the outsiders is inviting everybody are inviting crackpots and crazy people. That's who they're inviting. And that's why they're having programs on Hollywoodism. And they was mad when, what was that movie? Yeah, well, that movie, that's the movie, yeah, that was the movie. Uh, yeah, Argo or something like that. They was mad because they was making fun of Iranians. I said, don't worry about them, they make fun of you. Or the only movie that they can figure out is 300. Right, go ahead.
I'm glad you're saying it because my question is, how can you be in a country and you're constantly hearing negativity about you or threats going against you? You know, and there's no response. And that's always been a question. If you're Iran and you know
Right.
how everybody is, they don't have a show that Iran isn't mentioned
Right.
in a negative context.
Right.
And then we don't hear or don't see a collective response to deal with that.
No, first of all, Iran got his hands full, and they've dealt with, from the war on. You got to remember, everybody's giving them poison gas, everybody's doing everything to them. Right. Okay, now, the best economy in that area is the Iranian economy.
No, I'm not talking about Iran.
Right.
I'm talking about here.
Oh, how can the people here talk about Iran all the time? And well, that's what they're telling Iran. The white folks here are telling the Iranians that you get these white folks and we'll get you. That's right. They do. They sound. Right. I'm telling you, the stuff I heard from the guy's book was the same thing. If they asked me about something about Iran, he said exactly the same thing I would have said. Now, that means when he was in Iran in 2017, he was trained by the Iranians, by the semi-good guys. Why do I know they trained him? Because my other friend is sitting there down at the big studio, all down. I've tried to tell the National Negro about Velayat Faqih, but he's not getting it. I said, I said, look, I said, you remember the war? Yeah. I said, Saddam Hussein had a program, an Islamic program in Baghdad. He invited him. And he was on Saddam's side because Saddam was passing out money. I said, now the other thing is, when he was on the plane back to America, he had a vision. And he was beamed up. A lot of people haven't been beamed up. Some of us have. He was beamed up to the mothership. You ain't never been on the mothership, so don't worry about it. I'll tell you about it. And on that ship, he saw Allah. Y'all can't see Allah, so don't worry about it. And he saw the Lamb without spot or blemish. And he came back and he gave a lecture. And after a few black nationalists tried to box him in on it, he stopped talking about it. But I got the lecture somewhere. Yeah. So you're trying to tell the National Negro about Velayat Faqih? And the National Negro have taken at least 5 or 6 shahadas that I know of. Right? All different shahadas with a promise of I said, now when the Yahoo talked to him, it scared him to death. You know, he got to playing the fiddle, Mendelssohn, to show that he wasn't anti. Mendelssohn, I guess, was a Jew, became a Christian or something. That's a lot of stuff. I said, we don't do that. Can't nobody tell us nothing. Can't nobody tell us nothing. And how you going to tell him anything and get him to understand about Velayat Faqih? They don't get it. Some things they don't get. And then they go by numbers. There's 20 million of them. I said there's about 200-300 at least, you know. So the biggest group of Muslims in America, African Americans, are us, not them. But the news don't say that. Whenever the National Negro get in trouble, here come the news. Remember the Million Man March, the 2 Million Man March? Ha, 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 ha. Nobody's gonna come. So all the Negroes packed up every bus in the country and filled up the place down there. Not the Million Man, 2 millions. It had to be. You see that march? It was just, look, you couldn't find no place. You could feel the heat of the people. Outside, you could feel the heat, and the money, they had them big garbage bags that we have, them big old 55, just stacking full of money. And I heard a few weeks ago, some people say that money, but we, I said, go on and say it so we can catch you in another lie. But anyway, we have a certain gift and we know it. And that certain gift, look, at first you have to use a little discipline to stick with it. But if you got a gift and you know you got it, right? The way you know you got it is you follow that at first. You follow it. Because a lot of people, they get those same hints, they don't follow that. They follow the money and they follow, but you follow it and you say, oh, yeah. And then things get better and better and bigger because the gift is the thing. The gift is bigger than the person. Now they call them powers, like all the magic people on TV. They got powers. Right? Powers. They get gifts, you know. And I'm not going to have time to go through it. I wanted to go through a whole lot more. But whether it's friends, whether it's family, we're going to be speaking directly. Because it don't seem like that there's time left for another 10-year, 15 or 20-year strategic move. See, it was 10 years ago we was just talking about, this seemed like last week or something. No, about the thing about Libya, hands off Libya, that we did where Kennedy was killed down there. I'm telling you, that was 10 years ago. I remember the date, 4/16. So that was April the 16th, 2011. That's 10 years ago. That's 10 years ago on that one. But how did it come out? It came out, and nobody was talking about it at all. All the stuff about not going for power. We got books, I got in a book, The Power of Islam. Get power. We said at that time, don't take no power, don't take no power. The Quantics, they know better. We know better than niggas. What are you talking about? Plus, we've been over there to talk to Obama. He told us, you go ahead and do what you want to do. I said the same thing. He told, Miss Gillespie told the poor guy, Saddam, they killed him and everything, and now he's a damn fool. And so they done told y'all, let's go with what they told us, that they don't care if we get power in Egypt and nowhere, or do this here and that. They love equality, that's what they said. I said, sure they do. Of course they do. Okay, Foreign ministry controls access via embassies. Contacts overseas are widespread. The embassies are contact with the people, and the embassies control who go to Iran and meet with everybody. They have to be careful with Qum, because Qum is saturated with all kind of agents. Because if you got a college somewhere that people can come from anywhere, all I know is that, hey, the people from around different places. Here's what I said when I got here. I didn't say it when I got here. I said I'm here to get the game. But what I had in my mind, what I told people later, was the first people I'm gonna look for is the ones, and the ones gonna look for me is the ones that work for and with Iranians down there. And the normal Negroes was already out there in Gaithersburg with the brothers. Why you gotta follow them out there? To keep an eye on them. Yeah, remember all our Negroes around here was out there in Gaithersburg. And I told one of the most famous Negro of that day, just imagine the Adhan being called in the Southeast. He just looked at me and said, what does the Adhan being called in the Southeast have to do with me? And they're supposedly part and parcel of Islamic movement in America. And they're not thinking strategic. They come from the Southeast. Why would I want to go back there? Well, go wherever you can, wherever Islam has a chance to flourish, that's where you go. They wasn't thinking about it. They wasn't thinking about it like that. And any trouble or hassle we get into, they don't come around. They don't say nothing. They'll be right in the line. Hashimi, Hashimi, Marzia, Hashimi. When Marzia took Shahada in Masjid al-Islam in 1982, I said, there's a policewoman there. We at the game already as a policewoman. We had a program at the university, Zahra or something. And she said, I took my Shahada in Imam Musa's masjid. I said, yeah, it was 1982. We were just on the stage. I said, yeah, it was 1982. And I said, yeah, that's not all I remember. Yeah, I remember that every time we get in hot water, there ain't nobody around but us. Yeah. And whether it's Crescent, how is it that everybody else is hooked up with each other and we're the only ones been handling everything and analyzing it correctly, and we're on the outs, right? That's ridiculous. It don't make sense. And it's not with them. It's with everybody. How is it that there's nobody in the United States or anywhere else right now on our team? How is it the South Africans, right? As soon as Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui say what he say, and we tell them, don't worry about the ANC. You ain't gonna get no 5 million homes from the ANC. You can forget that, right? And this is a zillion years later, and they ain't got but 3 or 4 homes built. And the ANC, it doesn't run everybody out. I'm just telling them, there's certain gifts. These gifts, they can improve, but you have to have a certain behavior to improve them. Because not only things come together from your recent past and your recent future is looming, but all that stuff from the whole ancient past that people had forgot about, and it falls right into place. All that it go. That's what's happened. That's the value of longevity and strategic long-range planning. And that's what our brothers never had. They never had a chance. Hey man, the way they did our brothers, they never had a chance. It's just like what you were saying about your parents and people, and they didn't know it. You had to come here to find out, man. And if what we saying is half, just say 25% true, they didn't know what they was up against. They didn't know. And they trying to keep it that way. Black lives matter. What you mean Black Lives Matter? Y'all is crazy. What they said on TV, on the radio yesterday, might have been theirs, Black Lives Matter have come up with solutions and demands. Yeah, that's right, demands. They know what they want now. You didn't know what you want, you had 700 million people walking out in the street, and you ain't got enough sense to say, what does that nigga, what he say, have to do with Jews, and why should we change our subject from Black Lives Matter to Jews? And why can LGBT people, they're all over the TV, they get everything that they want now. And they've been doing it for a couple of years. Now, if you say something about them, it's haram. Boys and girls getting married to each other is halal for them, right? And niggas ain't got no freedom now. And they've been here all the time. And they used all of our stuff. And then they lied. All that stuff they talk about, Stonewall and up in New York, where they had that first big, those was Negroes. Mostly Negroes. They started it, they took the brunt of it, and the Euros was, yeah, right? No, the Negroes, remember, it was a big lot of sissies. See, yeah, but see, in our neighborhood, the sissies were not like, well, the church people might, but all us went to jail. The sissies, if you was in a certain lifestyle, pimps and hustlers, the sissies is everywhere. Okay, well, we call them sissies. But it wasn't nothing like, you can't come in because you a sissy. Well, sisters might be having a thing. They had the Queen's Ball in Oakland. Queen's Ball at the Continental Club, the biggest shoot. Ike and Tina Turner would be there. Well, now it'd be just Tina if she still go. But I'm telling you, this was the biggest show, the Queen's Ball. So in the black neighborhood, it wasn't like, I don't know, whatever's wrong with them. Anyway, let's get on down here. Influence of moves on Negroes. Up front and out front, that's what we're going to be. Okay, we don't have the time to deal with family and family life, but family life is influenced by this, especially on my favor. The police meant to destroy my family life by taking care of my kids and send them off to the penitentiary. Only thing, that's not what happened. They went to the penitentiary, but they was in the penitentiary in the 80s and 90s, and even in the 2000s. How many black kids are there in their 50s? My oldest son is 55, my youngest 52, 50. Where are they now? You can't find nobody hardly during that age bracket. Younger kids, old folks like us, but you can't find a whole lot. They were destroyed, killed, all during the 80s, all during the 90s. If you was around here, remember all them signs, rest in peace? They was everywhere. D.C. would be, they would just, the year just ended, they would have had 450, and it was when D.C. was small, it ain't now all them buildings. And why murders pop up? Ain't hardly no murders going on in the country last year. And all of a sudden, as soon as we running all around, that niggas killing each other in Chicago, right? Just like that. Just, man, this is, and you can't get nobody there. I don't want to hear that, nigga. You step on my shoe, I'll kill you. The white man, he got a right to take me to jail and beat me upside the head. That's what they act like, right? I'm telling you, our people act like this. You have to have patience and love. No other way. You're not. Maybe you might come up with some grand strategic plan, but we done tricked the white man, and then we done told him, and we done tricked him. So we all not boxed in, but we have to play the truth card, the out front card. That's the strategy. Why? It's never been done before. Remember, whatever we do to get to where we got to go, ain't nobody showed us how to do it, right? This one is on us. We're going to do it this way. We're going to give it a try. If it don't work in 25 years, or if it don't work in 20 years, then we'll try something else. Love, patience, sticking with the people. All the people. They don't know it's an insult if a white boy takes your hotter. They would think we was jealous. You're just jealous because, he has some spiritual gifts. And they always use that. They breathing heavy and hard and has spiritual gifts. And they love Imam. I said, so white folks love Imam Khomeini. That's great. That's great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And you may be swinging on a rope with two twines in it with Imam Khomeini's picture. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And been holding on for a billion years. It's not important. You have to have patience, and you have to not hate those people. You have to love those same people, just like you have to love your people. This stuff we talking about, we've been doing it, and we getting response. And we're going to do it bigger. Ain't nobody never tried this one. Well, Jesus said, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. Lord, forgive them, they know not what they do. But he didn't have an active plan. You know what I mean? And on this rock I build my church, Simon Peter, shoot. What the Bible say? When the rooster crowed 3 times, you're going to deny me, Peter. Isn't that what the Bible said? Have y'all ever heard that? Yeah, y'all became Muslims and you was born. So, see, you're not familiar with the poison book. That's what I tell the kids. No, not the poison book, but the certain books. But anyway, many of the great people, not only Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus Christ, but a lot of them adopted, Mother Teresa and all of them, they adopted things that was contradictory to what people really do in a day-to-day basis, right? So if everything that people already do don't work, try something different. And the most different thing that you can try is love, accountability, friendship with the Negro, the Arab, and everybody that slaps you in the face, give them a big hug, because that's what they're going to do, right? But it purifies your intention. You can't be doing it for money. You can't be doing it for a need. I need people to love me, right? You don't do it for that. Because they're not going to do it. You don't have to worry. They ain't going to do it. I don't care whether you deserve it or not. Okay. So I don't overstate my welcome. But I'll follow up with the same program on Tuesday. We're going to get to yep. Najib Kabul and Mature. Manassas, police brutality, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, we done covered some of it. So are any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Would you turn the heater back on just for a second? Say that again.
Yeah, brother has said, I guess, see, I wish they put timestamps on what the comment made on this particular lecture. In Tuesday's lecture is on the Bible, and the brother has said, I think he was talking about, maybe the topic was talking about just Islamic leadership not stepping up to the task and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the brother has said, also they refuse to submit to Quran and Sunnah, many anti-Hadith imams and followers, improper education deen-wise, and politics of Imam Warfi Muhammad. Is what he said.
The politics of Imam. Well, I had said quite a while back that maybe if I would have been where I am now, you know, as far as psychologically and spiritually, I might not have even left the community then. But I did say Imam Warfi Muhammad was a mujaddid, to take people to believe in the wonderful stuff I was just talking about, being beamed up on the spaceship, and the mothership is enough, you know, that stuff. And then to get them around to the Quran and the Sunnah, he took care of his religious obligation. But his siyasa was lacking. Everybody that know Imam Warfi Muhammad's siyasa, politics that is, was lacking balance and coordination. It was getting better. It was getting better. Like I showed you the picture, we was in Iran together. But anyway, I don't really know what they was aiming at, what they was saying. But in the long run, we congratulate Imam Warfi Muhammad for what he did. But we're older too. You know, we looked at Imam Muhammad almost like at Martin Luther King when we was younger. When we was older, Martin Luther King made sense. You know what I mean? But when we was younger, you think we would getting beat upside the head like old John Lewis and them? We figured they knocked all his brains out. Why they knock his brains out? Think about it. He knew what the FBI did to Dr. King and all his organization. So when John Lewis saw all that stuff happen to the Muslims, he ain't said a word. He kept hollering about America. Like he forgot all about what happened to them and how it built up. And Imam Jamil, he knows Imam Jamil. He wouldn't do nothing to get him. He just, anyway. So any more comments?
Yeah, so just a couple of comments that came on today's program, but bear with me, the grammar's not bad. The first comment was, Trinidad Imam said World War III has started. NATO is in peace of Syria. Teach on it, speak on it. Trinidad Imam said World War III.
Is he talking about, okay. He's talking, all right. Yeah. Okay. Tell them we get the code. Okay. Your imam, or that imam, has had a very correct position on many things over the years. Some of the formalities show a lack of textual feeling for what's going on in the environment. But about the government attacks on the Muslims down there, on World War III, we probably up to World War IV by now, because this has just been a non-declared war on Muslims all the time, every time. So we are at war. Yes. World War III was the Iran-Iraq War, when the whole world was on one side against Iran. There was nobody on Iran's side. That was World War III. That's what we call World War III. Now, what was the other part he wanted to teach on?
He said that World War III has started. NATO is in peace of Syria.
Shoot, NATO, everybody's in Syria. If that, look, here was the deal. We talked about the strategic alliance for years. Iran, Iraq, Syria, and who else? Iran, Iraq, Syria. Yeah, Russia, and now we would have to put Yemen in there, you know. And for the region, there's other countries that are regionally. Hey, man, just hold on for a second. What I was reading the other day, it says Turkey, Iran, and Pakistan did da-da-da-da-da. I said, hey, getting close now. So if you got Uthmaniyah, Safavids in Iran, and the hangover from the Mughal Empire, yeah, hang-alongs. Hey, man, I read that we've been calling for that for a long time. Now, what was the other part?
Yeah, the last part was.
Oh, no. No, Iran. Let me get back to that. If you go back a few years, they had knocked over Libya. For no reason, they just, we're taking this, and they got all the oil, they do this, and they got, there's no harmony there now. No nothing. They sexually assaulted Gaddafi. They did, it's unbelievable, yeah. Okay. Then, all the Europeans and the Americans was in on it. And that old hag Hillary Clinton was making a joke. We came, we saw, we conquered, or something, right? Huh?
He died. We came, we saw, he died.
He died, yeah. It's pitiful. Now, North Africa goes across. North Africa has a mountainous green belt in Algeria and in Morocco and what have you. It's called Atlas Mountains or what have you. And North Africa, right at the Mediterranean, is old places of Carthage, Carthaginians and all of that. In Africa, the further you go south, you get into the desert. And you get, the farther away from you get in the coast, you get, on the coast you deal with Mediterranean influence. It's right down, Algiers, they're right down the coast, all those other cities, right down the coast. The further south you go, when we was in Algeria, we would ask sometime, is there still slavery? This is 50 years ago now. Is there still black servants down in the south? So, but that whole ring of Chad and all of that, Gaddafi was known as the king of Africa. It was a joke, but he helped Africans with money, infrastructure. Nobody else helps Africa with nothing. Okay, so that's one of the reasons they wanted to get rid of him. The other thing is he kept a lot of gold. The other thing is he was always anti the sweetie pie Arabs, Saudis, the Gulf state Arabs, you know. Technically white folks lovers. But you know, Gaddafi was a white girl lover. I mean, you know, he'd hit on every white woman that came there. They just couldn't. All of the reporters and all of that, maybe they lying, but Arabs like Negroes or like past Negroes. You know, that was a time when white women had a lot of credibility. They're losing. You know what I mean? They're losing. They're still a little bit there for them, but it's not what it used to be. It used to be a big deal. Now it's common. Okay, now to teach on Libya is like to jump across the Mediterranean to Syria. You have Iraq, you have Iran, and what happened was they always wanted to attack Iran first. It's always been on the list. But they never got there. Why? Because when they came to Syria, Iran knew, and everybody in the region knew, you done destroyed Iraq already. You done destroyed Afghanistan. You're trying to get to Iran. So Iran stopped them there. Well, they slowed them down. The Russians helped, the combinations of Russia and Iran put a lot of hurt on them. And remember, America was so-called fighting for over 2 years against them guys, bombing. They never hit nobody. The Russians bombed, I'm telling you, within 3 weeks. Hey, I'm just saying, World War III has been going on. But that strategic alliance is stronger now. They swore they was going to get rid of Syria. They did it. They haven't did it. Of course, the U.S. still, imagine, Syria needs all of its own oil, but the U.S. is in there pumping oil and giving it to its allies to sell. Yeah, to the Kurds, not the people. And the Kurds is dumb enough to do it. See, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that's not always true. If you have ethics and morals, that enemy is my enemy and is your enemy. But that don't make me and you friends, because we got the same enemy. Because of your historical behavior. And boss man, he got it bad dumping allies. And the first ally he's gonna dump, old Marcos in the Philippines with Reagan. Oh, Mr. President, this is happening. It's beyond me. I don't have nothing. My hands is tied. That's what he's telling Marcos when they getting ready to get rid of him. And anybody else that they've, everybody, oh my goodness, it's terrible, but there's nothing we could do about it. We have competing interests in this region. So, Iran is still center stage. Iraq is second stage. Syria is third stage. Yemen had some things happen there the other day, but all of them are categorically anti-American, and there's some unity amongst all of them. So, the move is to destroy that old alliance that we talked about. It's not going to work, because Iraq is getting rid of Americans, because, if it's 2 or 3 left, Iraq, Americans are lied to their own people all the time. Nobody got hurt over here, but everybody got concussions, and as people talk about, man, there's people killed. And Iran was trying not to kill them, because Arif and them called ahead and said, we're going to bomb you guys there, right? They were so accurate and so deadly that they said, I don't know how many people, a concussion, they just put a bandage around your head and walk you around the yard 3 times and that's it, right? Why they sent all them people to Germany, right? Remember when you get wounded, when you get heavy stuff in the Middle East, you go to Germany, Kaiserslautern, Wiesbaden, all them bases. They sent the half of the army to Germany. So who's lying and who's telling the truth? About all that stuff in the middle. Today is January the 3rd. So we hope to hear good news about all of that. I hope that answered some of, did it answer?
Yeah, you touched on all the things that you said. Also, you had another comment too. Bear with me for this moment as well. You said, I answered phone call at masjid, your masjid. Name told brother go to Iran. Plus, Iran flew us to UNN. Iranian passenger shot down. We could not get our voice in UN.
Wait a minute. Is that some kind of, somebody been drinking?
I don't know. So this
Yeah, well, I'll read it, but somebody's been drinking. It's just, maybe that's a new backwards,
All right,
sideways.
that last bottom comment there, that one right down there.
Abdullah Kareem.
That's the one.
I answered phone call at masjid, your masjid. Well, we'll have to get a phone in a hurry. Told brother, go to Iran. Plus Iran flew us to UNN. Iranian passenger shot down. Would not get our voices. That was years ago. The Vincennes shot down at Bandar Abbas, Iranian airliner. 293 people was killed. Okay. The UN didn't say nothing about it. No, they didn't say absolutely nothing about it. Like they never said anything about it. Not only that, the USA didn't even apologize for shooting down the Iranian airliner. As far as answering the masjid phone, let's see, has it been 10 years? Wait a minute, it might have been 15 years since we had a phone here. There's been no phone. The last phone here was 202-581-1616. That was, let's say, 15 years ago. So some of it is like the people that was reciting when Pharaoh asked the grandees, what about this dream? He said it's confused. They told him it's confused medley, right? So that's what that is.
brother did say, though, he said, yes, Aki, South Central. So he said South Central.
He's from South and Central?
I don't know. He just followed up with another message that said, yes, Aki, South Central.
South Central? South Central LA?
Okay, maybe that's where he's from.
Because South Central, he don't mean Southeast. The brother might be, lay off that what you're doing now, brother. Just go and get yourself straight. Just whatever it is you're doing, stop. Whatever you're doing, just stop. And the next message, try to put it in order. At least 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D, something like that, but not a confused medley.
Just talking about speaking a word of truth.
You're right. No, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know I don't know, I don't understand. I hate to be unlearned, but I don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. Some of it I get. I tried to answer the one on Syria, and it's important in the region. The Americans was going to get rid of Syria and then get at Iran and break up that strategic alliance. They haven't been able to do that. Everything America has done to itself, everything America has done to us, has all been a benefit. That's all. So we just say alhamdulillah for directing them to do that. Are there any more? Okay, do we have any questions or comments or anything? Okay, you have anything? Okay. Well, did what we say today make any sense, or does it? Okay. Oh, what do you think about the strategy of openness? There's positive and then there's negative things that go with in the meantime, if you look right here, they turned the water off back here. That's just January we used a little bit, but it was turned all off. And then right here, when we turn the water on, see this line go way up here?
4481?
Yeah, this is 4481.
Okay.
And that's what, in one day,
What is running?
no, it was the water that was running.
Okay, but I mean, like, in order to consume that one day that you got.
No, that was when I walked in, the toilet was running.
The toilet was running.
Yeah, like when I would go in and out, I always knew that you have to flush the toilet correctly, or if you leave it, somebody could have just been working in there and flushed the toilet and then left. Left right out to go do what they do, and it would have been running, or it would have, or no, somebody, people pay attention to what we do. If we leave one thing out, they'll go do that.
I did not flush that toilet when I was in there.
No. I'm just saying that you could see the usage. When I came in, the toilet was running for probably 2 days, because they tell you when I called, they told me. But the point is, technically it don't make no difference, no matter what you do. Like something is going to happen. That's just the way. That's part of our work. I just brought this so everybody would see. This is up to date, and it's continuous. And the door is open down there. We don't know whether the boss man just walked in. The cat could have did it. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know if, when I used to go down there, I'd look all around and there was a cat tracks. I said, how the heck did the cat get in here? Because the cat can't get in down there. Okay, then I did look, maybe he come in the little door where the water heater is from the stuff he might have been wiggled down that way. And then at one time, somebody had pushed the window out, the little window in the kitchen. Okay, so, but the cat couldn't push it. The cat couldn't. It does make no difference. But I was just saying, we're right in the beginning. That's not correct. We're right in an Islamic revival right now. What we're doing, what we're saying is a part of it. What we're thinking about, what we're putting in place is part of it. So, this part of the year, we're going to be doing a lot of writing, physical writing. We got all the notes and everything. So we'll be writing. quality articles that will help us stay focused, and it may help teach everybody. I don't know if you remember reading some of our old flyers that we're going to do strategic management under Imam Musa's going to teach strategic management under da-da-da-da-da, and we're going to have the Office of Islamic Movement or strategic da-da-da-da-da, and that's on our flyers. Okay. We put that stuff on our flyers so they would come out to try to stop us from doing that then. That's what all our flyers was back then. We were resting. We're resting. We're not gonna, we're not gonna do any tussling. You can't make us do no. See, this is important. They can't make us do nothing. Do you see all the dumb stuff? I didn't even bring my phone. That people send us messages to do this and to try to make us mad. We would be crazy. We would be insane to let people assign our schedule for us, or influence our scheduling, or influencing our work. So, literally every time we want to be a part of the da-da-da-da-da, and we want to influence the direction of change, and da-da-da-da-da-da. All those things are true. But we're telling them that then, so they will initiate, which they did, their program to stop us from doing that then. When we're not doing nothing, it don't make no difference. So we get them, there's nobody there, so we want them to use all their artillery and shoot right there. Well, we're not. That's where hit 'em where it ain't comes from. Now, hit 'em where it ain't comes from Douglas MacArthur, but Douglas MacArthur got it from the Muslims. Douglas MacArthur got it from the Muslims when they would build downstream a fortress and what have you, and go around and build one upstream. So you cut off the whole city, right? They got that. That was one of the main strategies of the Muslims. They did that all the time. Why sit there and fight all the people in the city and get ladders trying to go over the wall? They pouring hot, molten napata on top of you, setting you on fire. Forget all of that. We just cut off everything upstream or cut it off downstream, right? And then the people will surrender. And that's where they did a lot of this stuff. Okay. So, literally every flyer we had, and remember, these are anti-Zionist flyers. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. That's what we were doing. We said what it is, psychological warfare. So would you please unload all your stuff on us? Because we're not doing anything right now anyway. We're not doing anything, so unload on us. And that way, when we get ready to move, you done run out of all the stuff. You done already did that. You see what I mean? We've already, every battle we've been in, we've already won. We won all of those, hands down. And it seems like where we're trying to go now will be the same way. And we'll have more allies going that way. And we did that because of our friends went to sleep on us. Would you please do an institute? An institute. Savannah Institute costs a lot of money because you got to have at least a master's degree person in charge of that type of, or a PhD, just for it to be, oh, we got that covered. And they laid out all, I said, oh, I can do it. But I was going to do what I was doing anyway. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. We did both of those, where you are around there and in Oakland, with no help from nobody. And the first sign that they tore down in Oakland was that sign. right? I'm trying to tell you. And we have moved the muscle. And if they can bust the fat off John Lewis's head and all he get is Congress, you get the fat busted off our head and we get all kind of good stuff. Hey, man. And I'll close with this. We might have got boss man, and I think we did, to put something in our head. Yes, I'm telling you, that's possible. It is possible, right? Okay. So then that means that they give us a big one to fight against, right? Because it's in your head. So now, you think this is little stuff? You got to train yourself to make yourself think you're thinking something, but you're not thinking that. Or what you're thinking, you got enough belief in Allah that right down the road, since Allah knows what's done happened to you, Allah gonna hook you up. Enough of that's done happened already. Already that's already happened. And boss man don't know his butt from a hole in the ground. Boss man don't know his butt from. That means, no, when a system is getting ready to go, he can do everything himself to get rid of himself. Nobody has to do anything. Hey, man, I would never, I have no reason, and I wouldn't encourage nobody. And if I catch somebody trying to do something physically to boss man, I'm not going to stop them. But I'm going to, man, you got to figure out a better plan. You're going to blow this. I ain't going to bother nobody because they got a right to do what they want to do. But I wouldn't help them. I wouldn't be involved because you can't take boss man down quicker than he's going down already. Listen to the news. Watch everything. From every direction and on all and any occasion, America is finished as that old America. All its allies, nobody trusted. It don't make no difference. They so just remember. And the other thing is too, we claim credit for a lot of the stuff that's happening to boss man. We started claiming a long time ago. Here's what we said. Boss man, you got to do right by us and relieve some of the pressure on yourself from historical realities. If you do, you might get a little break. You might get to hold on like the people of Nineveh did for a little while. You never know. But we know boss man kept on going. So look at all the stuff that happened. We couldn't do that stuff to boss man. You can't do nothing to hurt him quick more than he hurt himself. You can't do nothing, and nobody else can. Okay, I don't want to. Thank you very much. Is those things off?
Well, they're about to be off.
Okay, no, I was just wondering. And then we want to thank y'all can leave them on or turn them off, whatever. I just wanted to thank y'all for everything that we're doing right now. But remember, this is a special time. It makes no difference whether you believe it or don't believe it. All I can tell you is that from what I've been looking at and saying and being a part of, for 40 years, it's been, you could take out your calendar and just say, wonder which day it's going to be on. That's all. It ain't nothing, no different from that. Will it be on the weekend? Should I take the, right? So that's the way it's been. And it's getting more and more like that. That's because mean old boss man bothering us. That's right. I'm telling you, that's what's happening. Because, see, Allah take unexplainable things that you wouldn't be considering. Nobody would get before you and say, everything happened to boss man happened because he bothered us. If you leave us alone, you're going to get it better. Okay, that's a challenge for him because he thinks he's going to win. Everything is win and loss. For us, it's not win and loss. We have our own criteria for what is, let's call it good for a minute. We already got that. We've got our own criteria. And think about it. the more he do mess with us, the more happens to him. Okay. And nothing he can do about it. He can't do anything about they got the dumb man, they gonna challenge they're gonna challenge something else anyway, whatever it is. When they challenge some of the results in the Senate or something, on the 6th they're gonna challenge that. Then there's slow people down in Dixie, in Georgia. Just think that if the Negroes come out, and this is just in their politics, they ought to have every Negro from Carolina, all the region just come and vote. They'd forget your Georgian citizens. Really do what Trump said. While we only have 12 million voters, and here we got 18 million votes. Not really, but you don't have to do nothing. This thing is flipping, and it's flipping fast. And when it does that, you don't know where it's coming from. When I say you, we don't know how it's happening. We just know it's happening. Everything we've talked about has all happened. Now you got to imagine what that means. That everything, when we say everything, 96, 7, 95, whatever we've ever said, and I mean some of it has been detailed over a long period of time, and it has all happened. So should we be more encouraged about our analysis or less? Should we say, man, the analysis is pretty good? Should we be more confident or less confident? Like, man, we don't know what we're talking about. We said it's going to happen. Don't nothing happen, right? Should we be like that, or should we be very confident? And I'll close with this. The history has its patterns. Okay. Sometimes those patterns are interfered with, you know what I mean, by Allah who created us. Like one of my silly kids was asking the other day, why would Allah, or why would someone establish religion allow for a 13-year-old girl to become pregnant without a man? I said, you've been up there with them white folks too long. Now, no, don't worry, do not worry. Do not worry. Why? You got to look at it like this. You know, men are more protective of women than they are of daughters and sons. You tell your sons, hey man, you be 4, 5 in a minute, so you're going out there and take care of yourself. But girls, you be watching them all the way. A little girl can be 2 months old, and another little baby in a crib is moaning at them, and you say, you better mind your own business. You know what I mean? Right? It's just different. So this is important. I know the people around me. I know what they've been doing all the time. I know the whole Oakland crew. Sister Bahia was married to Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik brought her out there so that she would eventually get married to me. When I married another woman for a short time, almost like a temporary marriage, he was mad, you know. And all the talk was amongst them, yeah, she's gonna make somebody a nice wife. And then pretty soon they get ready to spring their thing, and she come out here. Or would she come home? Okay. I was way off in the game then. That was during the orbiting around period. And it wasn't, you know, whoever they sent, especially if they leave, the person they leave is with Kwame Ture. Kwame Ture, what's his name? Stokely Carmichael, right? And they're in the army together. Can you imagine people revolutionary being in the United States Army in the 70s and 80s? It's insanity. It's insanity. It ain't just, okay, that ain't nothing. But here's the thing. With your sons, they keep them alive by sending them to jail, giving them an opportunity to get back to the truth. Okay. If you take young girls, if their mama wasn't having them misled on purpose, right? And then Allah know what they up against, right? Then you just imagine the government can't do anything to them. Because even their mama got enough sense to be mad if they walk across the street and get hit by a runaway car or something like that, right? Or if they have targeted, if you got your children in school somewhere else and they the target of the system, the chances of them beating all of the games they would play with them, it's not likely. I don't even believe it's possible, because if don't one or two, three people make it and they're 100 years old, then ain't no way a teenager, because teenagers are arrogant. The day they stop crawling, they get sense, all that sense. Like one of my friends said, well, if you got so much sense, why don't you leave home while you know everything? That's what one of my friends, the sister that died out in California, that's what she told her daughter years ago. Well, if you know everything, why don't you pack up and get out while you still know everything? Because, the older you get, you're going to realize the less I know about it, it's too much to know. But anyway, just think about it. They do you a favor. They do you a favor. Everything boss man do so far has been a benefit to us. Don't make no difference what it is. Everything. Especially when the people are good character, good nature, they don't do nothing stupid, just a stupid question, But don't worry. I'm just telling you, everything boss man ever did to us made a shortcut. When he got us to selling dope, he got us a shortcut to the movement. Instead of evolving toward the movement, he cut out all the brush and everything and cut a path and run over the hills. As a crow fly, he sent us straight to the movement. And when we got in the movement, everything he did, everything, you couldn't realize how much stuff that has happened. The drug trade, how that was run, all of that stuff, man, has been just unbelievable. So again, we'll close with that. We don't want to just use up all the time, but it ain't no hope for boss man, because he's not taking it. No, you can turn it off. I'm just running. Yeah, boss man's finished. How does everybody else feel?